Unity.
That was a low pitch.
Who, Shannon?
No, well, sometimes. But
Not
no,
today.
no.
Ooh. Okay, yeah. Hello. Can you go?
Is that really as low as you can go?
think so.
Really? That's the lowest you can go, bro.
Maybe like this low.
I have your beat. Hello. Come down. I can still sing that.
Go lower.
Come down.
Maybe I feel like they're really missing you in the men's ensemble. You know.
Coming in to carry me home. Swing the old
I'm definitely up in the
man
tenors.
river. She go.
Somebody got on here and is like, I'm on the wrong podcast. What is this?
Well, in case they need to know, well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Next Day podcast. I'm Chad. Oh, wait.
Oh, the next day on your discipleship journey.
Oh, yeah.
my
there's
gosh.
that.
We're so thrown off today.
We were off a week. I'm Chad.
I'm Christy.
And we're joined by
Shannon.
Wacky Shannon.
Wacky Shannon with the
Woohoo.
weather and
Yeah, Shannon.
traffic reports.
What's the traffic like?
Well, I mean, I drove to inside, what, Dairy Ashford and got stuck in some major traffic. I forgot
Today?
this morning. Yes, I forgot about commuters. Like,
yeah.
when you stay in the bubble square,
Yes.
you don't realize like all of humanity is also leaving out to downtown.
You had to go all the way out there.
I didn't have to go. I mean, Dairy Ashford. It was, and that's where I grew up.
That feels far to me.
Doesn't it though
because-
now?
Well, because I'm
Sadly.
down south. Like, I'm almost to Richmond.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that feels real far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really not, but yeah.
Wow.
Feels
Wasn't
like it.
bad for me. I'm good. That was fine. But no, we are so glad you all could join us for this very serious and straightforward podcast. This is where we're going to be talking about the sermons you got to hear on Sunday, because today is the next day. And so we'll be talking about that. But I do also want us to get into talking. Well, first off, we were off last week because it was Easter Monday. But Easter was so busy and everything, and so we had the day off on Monday, and it's hard to do the next day when it's we're off on the
2
next
days.
day.
Yeah.
We've done that before, but I think we were just like really tired because we had sunrise services and all that.
I still don't feel like I've recovered.
Yeah.
I am just
It's
tired.
exhausting, but I have such a blast with it. Like just bouncing around to the different venues and just saying hi to everybody. And we see some people that we haven't seen in a while. And then, I don't know, it's just always so exciting. Easter morning is exhausting, but it is fun at the same time. So
It's always fun seeing all the families with their little pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
And
I
their babies all dressed
know.
up, cute.
I think this is the first Easter in a while that I have not done my annual, I'll take a picture of your family, and I take a whole bunch of selfies. I'm just taking
You're
a bunch
that
of
guy.
me. Because then it'll be
You
like...
are that person.
Because then it's a couple of days later, they're like, Chad, what is this? I'm like, oh, my bad.
I thought you wanted that.
Yeah. But anyways, so here we're going to go to our icebreaker. And this last Sunday was Senior Sunday. Very special Sunday.
Yeah.
So I did want to ask y'all, what all were you involved in your senior year of school? So what clubs, what activities, what things were you a part of your senior year of high school? Or were y'all just like, I didn't do anything?
I did theater, shocking. And so it's in the thespians. And then
You are one of those weird
Yeah.
theater kids.
Yeah, you are too. Shush.
Yeah. I-
Sounds like a
and-
theater kid. A
And
weird theater
then
kid.
I did National Honor Society,
Oh.
and that was kind of cool because like one time we volunteered at this like place for kids with cerebral palsy, and and it kind of like influenced my whole like track after that.
Oh, wow.
In a
Wow.
wild way.
So that was like a formative year for you.
I guess in retrospect, didn't realize it at the time.
Yeah.
But I was like really good with those guys. And the lady who ran it was
amazing.
like, you have a gift. And I was like, well, thanks.
Well, thanks.
And I didn't know what to do with that, but
Yeah.
it came bad, I guess.
That's amazing. I did choir. I was in our, varsity choir group that was called Cypher Singers, and it was like a smaller
I
group.
forgot that you went to Sci-Fair. You're BFND.
Oh yeah,
Bobcats fight, never die.
yeah, baby, that's right.
I was a Stratford Spartan.
Oh, listen, BFND still gets me pumped.
Yeah.
up.
BFND. Everyone else thinks it's like a curse word. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you can't say that.
No, Bobcat fight never dies. And then I went on to be a Bobcat at Texas State too. So
Aren't they the Wildcats?
No, they are the Bobcat. I would
And it's
know.
the same
I went
colors
there.
too, right? Same colors.
It is maroon, but there's we added in a little gold whenever
Yeah.
I went to college. But
Well, to change it up from A&M, of course.
yes, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I did the varsity choir, Cypher Singers, and that was really like my main thing outside of just like personal music. So I was like, in my senior year, I feel like I was doing more of like songwriting, and I would play shows and stuff like that with, just invite all my people out and play shows at little coffee shops and
Did
whatnot.
you have a spring show? And what did you sing?
I did have a spring
What
show.
did you sing at spring show?
I sang a original song.
Oh,
On my
really?
guitar, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I did that for 3 years, I
Yeah.
think. 2 or 3 years, yeah. I sang my
Show
original.
off. Show
Yeah, I felt really cool. But I will say it apparently started something for at least, I don't know if it's still going on, but for like the years following that, they had like a segment in the spring show that was like coffee house style.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was like kids who like wrote songs and played guitar or ukulele or whatever it was.
And they hand out the Christie Christmas Award.
No, they would
Christmas Carol Award.
Our Christmas Carol Award. Yeah, no, they my director was like, yeah, this you started a little legacy that like continued on. I don't know if it still is because he's not there anymore, but anyway.
Oh, yeah. All right. Really cool.
What about you, Chad?
Let's see. The main things I was involved in were swim team. And I was like one of the only seniors left on the team by that point. There was like a big mass exodus due to a variety of reasons. But then I don't want to get into it.
Oh,
And so-
sounds political.
Let's just say they chose other recreational hobbies.
okay,
They were given
okay.
choices and they chose that one. And they were like, no, you can't tell us what to do. So they all left the team. And so I was one of the last seniors on there, but I did theater as well. But then if you were to look in my yearbook, they have seniors, you have your portrait, and then they also have your activities. I have a huge list of activities that apparently I was a part of because I think I remember what happened was when they had signups for clubs, I just went up to everyone and just signed up for all of them, like just all of them. So on my thing it says I'm part of FFA.
Oh.
I was part of all these other, even though I never once attended it. And so whenever it came time to yearbook, I never said I was a part of these things. I think they looked at this list and go, "Oh,
This, like,
Chad's
roster.
Chad's a part of this." I'm like, I was not a part of that, but okay, you listed it. And then, but also something fun was when we're taking photos, group club photos for the yearbook. A group of us were just like, oh, let's just do a fun one. We're part of the bicycle club, so we all just looked like we were riding bikes, and there was like maybe 20 of us, and it got put into the yearbook, and everyone was like, "What's the bicycle club?" I'm like, it existed for that 5 minutes, and then it ended. For that picture, it existed, and then it went away.
This
So
is really good journalism, is what I'm hearing. Like
Yeah.
some very, very good quality journalism.
Oh yeah, really was. So, and I think I was on the yearbook committee, and then I was also doing my journalism class. I took a lot of kind of easy classes in senior year. So yeah, fun stuff. But anywho, let's get on to talking about, hey, we're in the Great 50 Days, the Eastertide. We are in the season of celebrating just the season of Easter. This may be confusing to some people because you're like, man, how many seasons can we go through? We went through Advent, and then we went through the season of Lent.
Well, you should come to my liturgical living Bible study.
Well, there we go. Take it away, Christy. But
yes.
it is a kind of a church history, liturgical kind of a thing. Now, some stuff, not too much changes whenever we go into the Great 50 Days. There's not much fasting. There's nothing like that, like you would during Lent or something like that. But it is we're still celebrating Easter. Easter, I mean, really every Sunday is a celebration of Easter, really. But here's this special season of really celebrating Easter, remembering that Christ is risen.
He is risen indeed.
Mm-hmm. He is risen indeed. Okay. I'm risen.
Yeah.
I'm rising.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he is.
Whatever you say.
Alrighty.
All right. But it really is this time, and it leads up to Pentecost. So if you're trying to count the days, how long does this last? It's going up to Pentecost, which will be closer to the end of May. And so, so we are in this. We have a new sermon series. I don't think the sermon series is going to last all of the Great 50 Days, right? I think it's just this month.
No, it goes all the way to Pentecost.
Oh, it does? Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah.
It does, because
7
Pentecost
weeks.
is part of what book?
Acts, yeah.
And the series is called Get Your Acts Together.
Not your acts, our acts.
Oh,
This
getting
is
our-
this is not like
Oh,
we're
I
not
thought it
pointing
was-
the finger at anybody here.
That's nice,
Okay,
y'all.
It should have been.
it's all of us. Hey, we are one body. Okay,
Getting our acts together.
Getting our acts
So-
together.
So we're getting our act together in our faith, but getting our acts together by we look at these stories throughout the book of Acts and then kind of seeing what we can learn from them.
That's right.
So we are I like how you preface this in your sermon, Chrissy. Like, sorry to bother you, but like we're going to be going out of order on this
Yes.
because Pentecost is like the beginning of Acts. Like it's really close to the beginning, but that's going to be our last story we talk about. And so
It does. I will say it does bother me, and it's like I don't know
Yeah.
if it's OCD or like a little, just like those little things, those little, little, quirks that we all have, idiosyncrasies. That bothers me. That I'm like, oh, I really just want to start at the beginning and work
Yeah.
our way, or like go in
Yeah.
some pattern. There is no pattern here. There
Yeah.
is none. I'm just gonna say that. But yeah, it's gonna be fine. It'll all be fine.
I mean, but it keeps people on their toes, I guess.
It
right?
does.
Yeah.
It
Including
keeps-
yourselves.
Yes, me. Yes,
That's
I
okay.
feel very on my toes.
It's a growth moment.
So this one, so this was getting our acts together, and this is called, and just talking about how the disciples. I mean, in the early church, the disciples, they were called to go to these different places, and the church was starting to spread, starting to go out from Jerusalem, out from Israel, starting to go to these different places as Jesus demonstrated.
Right.
And so they were starting to do that. And so the section we looked at for this week was, what was it? Acts chapter 16.
6 through 10 was
6 through
our
10.
specific
Yeah.
verses.
It's very easy reading for anybody. You get to learn about Phrygia and
yeah.
it's one of those weird names and all that. And so, but yeah, so the gist of this is like the disciples, they're trying to go to places, but some places they weren't being allowed into. Some places were rejecting them but then all of a sudden they go to places. And then Paul gets this vision to go to Macadamia Nut. And he goes over.
Okay.
Oh. That's what one of our students was like. I was like, what stood out to y'all from this passage? He goes, that looks like macadamia nut. And it's like, yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Macedonia? Yeah, it does.
It does.
But
Fair observation.
Thank you.
yeah, and that's where they grow. That's the only place that grows macadamia nuts. Fun fact. And so anyway, no, not really.
No fact. That is not a
No,
fact.
that's complete lies. But okay.
But Macedonia has a really cool flag now. North Macedonia? Yeah.
Is this real? You've really lost credibility.
No,
so-
if you have not seen their flag, it is really cool. It's
I'm
a
gonna
really
look it up
bright.
on
Yeah,
my
look it
phone.
up.
Macedonian.
If we had that as our country's flag, we would all be in a better mood. It'd be
Would we?
it's so bright and
It's
colorful.
like neon.
No,
Oh.
it's red and yellow, but it looks like a bright sun
Does.
shining.
That's very fun.
Yeah, look at that.
It is. Oh, that's
Yeah,
happy.
it's a very cool
I
flag.
love that.
So, Yeah, y'all got to study vexillology. Oh, I was also part of the vexillology club
I forgot
in high
about
school.
this. It's a thing.
I study flags.
He likes flags.
Well, yeah, I'm not an expert, but I do like, looking into world flags and kind of figuring it out and recognizing them. Anyways,
It's an
moving
interesting
on.
hobby. Yeah. Anyway,
Didn't Sheldon like that on Big Bang Theory?
That's what everybody said. That's the
Okay,
only.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
but
sorry.
everyone said, because I think everyone knows that term vexillology from that, and
okay.
so every time I bring it up, people go, "Oh, you watch Big Bang Theory?" I'm like, "No, but I do know he does that on the show."
like I was
And
not
so-
influenced by the show. Anyways, Macedonia. This is where Paul goes.
Yes,
Yes.
continue. Back on track.
So Christy, well, you got to hear Christy in the Element. You got to hear Carl at West Campus and Preston at Traditional Service. You can hear all those here in the podcast as well. But Christy, tell us more about your sermon about this, because it is kind of a weird passage. Like when you're reading it, it's just like you're just reading these weird names on how they're either allowed or not allowed. And then he gets this vision to go to Macedonia. And then that's kind of ends right there. So what can you tell us about this sermon?
Yeah. So, kind of like what you said, you paraphrased real nice.
Always. Yeah.
As always, thank you so much. But yeah, Paul is at this point, we're like middle of Acts at this point. And so Paul has been already like going around planting churches. If you like look, I did present a map in the service just because like sometimes if I'm hearing a lot of things that are not making sense, then I will turn my brain off. So I'm like, maybe if I just show a map to the people, give them a little visual, they can be like, okay, I'm seeing words that you were saying, and like, it may make a little bit more sense. So anyway, we're middle of Acts. He's already gone around in Asia Minor. And one of the things I did make a point to mention is that Paul is from that area, from Asia Minor. He's from Tarsus. And Tarsus is... Look, Chad's got little maps for us.
Look
How
at
nice.
that.
Thank you, Chad.
Yeah, see how accurate that one is to yours. I was trying to look at it, and I was like, because that's what I handed out to students for Sunday school, and I was like, I hope her map doesn't contradict what I handed out.
No, it looks pretty... I don't see Tarsus on your map, but I can locate.
Yeah, it kinda
and
cuts
listen,
off.
geography is not my strong suit. But anyway, Paul is from like the... I don't know, lower
Asia Minor.
Yeah, lower Asia Minor, sort of, what is this, southeast, I guess, of Asia Minor. And he's gone and like planted a bunch of churches in Galatia. So like the Galatian church is a collection of...
Galatians,
Right.
letter to the Galatians,
Galatia.
which is one of those,
yeah.
when we ask students, like, which of these do you recognize? Some were like, Galatia? Like, Galatia? Yeah, and they kind of recognize, that's a book in the Bible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he'd gone to like a lot of these other places, but Galatia was one of the areas. It's a region, and there were like multiple churches, a collection of churches. So like the Galatian church was actually like a collection of multiple churches, and many were like that because they were home churches. It wasn't like thousands of people
Right.
gathering in one place, all the time anyway. So anyway, he had gone around there. He'd been planting in Asia Minor and was like trying to go to some other places he was like moving to the west a little bit of that region of Galatia, but he's trying to go to a couple of other places.
And this is all in modern day Turkey, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Modern day Turkey. Mostly modern day Turkey. There's
I figured it was like somewhere. I saw Crete on there. I was like, okay, we're by Greece. somewhere.
yeah.
In
It is definitely that
general idea.
Mediterranean kind of area.
Which the Turkey flag is like all red with the Islamic symbol in the middle of it. And
Man,
so
Chad, you just look at this like
it's very similar to the Tunisian flag. I kind of get them confused sometimes.
Well,
but
anyways.
looks like flags to me.
Yes, it's a flag. So anyway, the scripture literally says like the Holy Spirit prevents them from going or forbids them from preaching the word in these areas.
Okay.
So like he's trying to go into other places in Asia and like Holy Spirit shuts it down. Now it does not say we don't get a lot of description about what that looks like. Forbid sounds really strong, but like essentially this was some kind of closed door. It was like it was a no. And so they keep they're on this trajectory of like going, north and going west. And so every time, they're like closing a door, it's kind of like leading them in that direction.
We determined it's because there weren't any Buc-ee's on that route.
It must be.
And so then they decided to turn, well, we're not going to go that way.
Yeah.
This route has a Buc-ee's.
That's
so.
smart. Yeah, always go
Yeah.
where there's the Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
But anyway, they end up in Troas, like, just kind of camping there, which is like right across this little, I don't
Right
know
on
what
the
the
sea.
sea.
Straight or
Yeah.
what would that be?
Some like, body of water, a smaller body
I feel
of
bad.
water.
I don't know my geology.
I don't
It
know
looks
my.
kind of like a straight. It's like this body of water going between this two pieces of land.
I don't have my map in front of me, and like I said, geography
yeah.
is not my strong suit. But anyway, but on the other side of this is Europe, right? It's like it's into Europe. It's in Macedonia, and
It's kind of like Greek and Greece and
yeah,
all that. Yeah.
and he,
Which their
Paul
flag
will,
is blue and white with stripes,
Yes.
and then
Paul will end up going to Paul will end up going to Greece, to Italy, right? He goes to Rome.
Italy.
like,
The Italian flag has
Good
red,
Lord,
green,
Chad.
and white, and okay.
We'll never get through this.
No, we won't.
We need to stop talking about cities. Anyways,
That's
so
a country, anyways.
So a country, sorry. I told you I'm terrible at geography. So anyway, he gets to this place, and after all these closed doors, he has this vision of a man in Macedonia. And again, like, it's not super descriptive. Like, we don't know who he's seeing, what he's seeing that's going on here. But saying, like, please come to Macedonia and, help us, speak the word to us. And so after he sees this vision, he's like, okay, we got to go to Macedonia. Which, like, we don't always get visions in our life of, like, this is where I need to go next. But they end up going to Macedonia, and they go to the city of Philippi, and they're there for a few days. And while they're there, and this is beyond the passage we read on Sunday.
Yeah.
But it does, like, it leads into the story. So while they're there, they meet this woman named Lydia. And Lydia becomes a really important figure in the early church.
She is wealthy.
Yes,
She's
very wealthy.
loaded.
She's like a business owner. She sells purple cloths, purple linens, and that is like the color of wealth.
Purple was like hard to
Yeah.
come by. And,
Wealth and royalty.
Yeah.
And
right?
it symbolizes wealth. So she like has
Didn't it have something to do with like a shellfish? Like, isn't that what it is? Like you got purple from like
a
this.
specific, yeah.
It's
I
like a
think you're
very
right.
specific thing in the water, and they had access to it, and that's how they could get purple, which was rare.
Yeah.
And that's what made it valuable.
Right. But she was a homeowner, this was like, I mean, she had wealth. But anyway, she heard this message of the gospel from Paul and the others that had gone over and believed in, the message of Jesus. And it was in her home that the Philippian church began, right? And this was the first church in Europe. And like it continued a trajectory westward, which like ultimately, like as you continue to go west, like you hit America, and like at the time, obviously, like that was not a thing, but or it's civilized, but like eventually, right, this trajectory that would continue west and west, like that was sort of like what began that. So it's a really cool thing to like put all of that together, but ultimately, like what led them there, and this is kind of the focus of what we talked about on Sunday was the closed doors, right?
Yeah.
Like
'Cause
had
they got rejected, or they could not go because it's like the only reason it mentions some of the places, they obviously tried to go those
Right.
routes.
Yeah. Right.
They tried to go
yeah.
to,
And we don't know what that looked like, the rejection or the no. If that was like, maybe it was, it kind of makes you think maybe it wasn't a vision, only because like it specifically says that he has a vision about Macedonia.
Yeah.
So it names a vision. So you're like, well, maybe these aren't visions. Maybe these are like specific occurrences that happen. Like, I don't know, you're driving down the road and there's a tree that fell across it and you're like, well, it can't go this way. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what that looks like, but it was some kind of closed door. It was some kind of like, they tried to go, and it was, they went to a lot of dangerous territory. Potentially could have been like a dangerous situation that could have like ended the movement of Paul, like it could have ended his life there, and God's like, oh, I'm not done with you yet, know. Who knows? But there's a lot of that. that you see in this story of like closed door.
I haven't heard
door.
one. I read one theory, or like scholars have their own kind of stuff, but like one thing was somewhere in this passage you notice it goes from the pronoun of he's talking about
they,
I, or they,
it's they,
and then it went to we. And that one idea was, if Luke wrote Acts, then maybe Paul and these disciples were kind of ill and they needed to seek out a doctor. They found Luke, a physician, and then Luke from that point on was with them and all that. So it's just one of those interesting, like, you could read it that way.
Yeah.
And maybe that was what's keeping them from going somewhere, is like they just physically, their physical body like could not do it. So they went these other routes and they needed help. And then Luke came along and...
Well, and I read one scholarly theory that the man from Macedonia in the vision is Luke.
Oh, okay.
Luke, and by the way, we're talking about Luke because Luke wrote Acts, right? Originally, Luke and Acts were one document altogether. It was a letter.
They didn't want to call it Luke 2.
Right. So it was Luke Acts is how it was
Luke
always
2,
referred
get
to.
your acts together.
Get your acts together. But yeah, Luke is the only gospel that has a sequel. But that's why we have the book of Acts, and so it like continues that same kind of description of the story of like, well, then after Jesus ascended to heaven, what happens next, right? So that's really like Acts is really like the primary resource. There's really not a lot of other resources that exist outside of our canon. There are other like writings and stuff like that, but of the story of the first church, like Acts is really one of the primary resources for it. But yeah, that's a scholarly theory is that like perhaps Luke is the man from Macedonia because it switches. It says, so they passed, this is in verse 8 of Acts 16. So they passed by Mysia and went down to Troas. During the night, Paul had a vision of a man of Macedonia standing and begging him, come over to Macedonia and help us. After Paul had seen the vision, we got ready at once to leave for Macedonia. And that's the first time you see we, like, or us or whatever. So it's them. Yeah, it's always like them, they are doing these things, they blah, blah, blah. And then it changes to we. And then as they continue on in the story in Philippi, it's we did this, we went here, we blah, blah,
Luke's
blah.
editor didn't catch that. And so,
so we just changed.
There's like,
and it was
okay, yeah.
All right, well,
but
that is one of those weird things, like you just reading it may not notice that, right? Even just, and yeah.
But I would think it must have been an intentional switch.
Oh, for sure. Right. Because especially because it's a letter, right?
Yeah.
Like Luke is telling this story, writing this letter and making sure that this story is carried on, right? And so he's like, clearly this is when Luke like
became part of it.
Part of it.
He was kind of giving like a history maybe before.
Yeah. It's like they did these things, they blah, 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 and then we.
Yeah.
So it is really, really fascinating. And again, like doesn't really give a lot of detail about that, but anyway, like you can see in this story though, like these closed doors, and one thing that I really just think is so fascinating here is that like it wasn't a closed door on something that was bad, right? It wasn't like, oh no, like God doesn't want you to do this. Like ultimately, they end up going to those places where those original doors were closed, right? They go back to these. It was the third mission. They come back. They plant churches in those areas. They preach the gospel in those areas, right? And not just Paul. Like Peter goes there. Like multiple other people like are going to these areas. So it's not like it's like this desert that never gets covered and preached to. It was just like at that particular time.
Yeah.
Like this is where I need you to go because like there is.
This place needs you now.
This place needs you now. Like there's going to be this convergence that happens of people in the story. Like, like Lydia, like Luke, right? Like there's this coming together of people that were going to be important that they like knew each other and met. And this is where it gets really like tricky because, if you think about these things in terms of like, like what we have control over and what God has, controls. It's sort of that gray area where you're like, I know I make choices, I know Paul made choices, right, in this story, I also know that God is sovereign. I know that God has a plan. I believe in that, right? I just don't know where those two things come together. Do I think Paul was a puppet in this story? Absolutely not. Like, there was no puppet strings attached here. He made choices. But what we do see is that, like, everything written down is that he was discerning where God was calling, right?
Yeah.
And there's a difference there that, like, it's not a puppet strings. It's not like we're doing things against our own will or anything like that. Like, it is a willingness to say, God, where are you calling me to go, and choosing that route.
Right.
Right.
And accepting also that, like, sometimes you have those thoughts of, like, this is the direction I'm supposed to go, and that God is closing that window for a reason,
For
or
a
that
reason,
door, you know,
yeah.
and is opening a window or somewhere else
Right.
for you.
Right. Yeah.
Like, trusting that process.
We don't always have answers to that. You know?
No, and that's the thing I'm always passionate about talking with students, and I'm glad that this came up on Senior Sunday, is because, you know, it is one of those things where we could debate all day about, like, what exactly is God's plan. Is it like once you're born, is this already the set path for you, and everything you do is already? But that's kind of what we said, like a puppet type of thing, or is it the plan? Is for us to live into what Jesus told us to do, to love God, love others, love yourself. That is the plan. Do that.
Right.
That is the plan. Now, wherever you are, I don't know where I don't know where you're going to end up, but still do that plan.
Right.
And so here they was, for one reason or another, they weren't allowed to go to these places. If they were allowed to, I'm sure they would just done the plan. I'm gonna share people about the love of God. I'm gonna teach them about Jesus.
Right.
But for some reason, they were getting rejected. Well, they didn't just quit. They just go, well, this stinks. Let's go back home, guys.
Yeah.
They just kept going forward no matter what. And then it led them to Macedonia. It led them to talking to Lydia. It led them, and then it just keeps going. And so when I'm trying to talk with students, and I'm like, you know, some of y'all, and this is, I don't know if this is true for y'all, but like, did y'all have like a college you knew you were going to since you were like 1 year old? Like,
No.
No, I mean,
because some
no.
people, like, depending on their family, they like, I went to school with people in first grade. They're like, yeah, I'm going to Texas A&M.
Right.
Like, that was like,
Right.
well, why? Because my family went to Texas. I am, and that was their plan.
Right.
I was just kind of like, I don't know.
I didn't know.
I
I
don't
didn't
know
know.
about that.
My junior year, I was like, oh, Texas State. Sounds good.
Yeah, that's what I was just like, I don't know. I guess I'll just go to SFA, and if I don't get in there, I'll just go to our community college in Lufkin. Like, that was my plan. Like,
Yeah.
I really didn't have that strong of one, but what I want to stress to students is, even from a young age, you could have had a plan to go to A&M or UT or whatever it may be, but if you don't get into that school, that doesn't mean you quit.
Right.
You pivot, you go to a different school or something, and you just keep going forward no matter what. Don't think that that's a door closed and that means you're done.
Right.
So
And
that's
those
the
schools
thing.
are so hard to get into now.
I
Like, oh my
know.
God.
Well, and I think it's like, you know, it's just a reminder of, like, you know, we will, even if you take a year off or whatever, you know, and you're like, I'm just going to stay home, and you feel like I'm failing.
Just go backpacking through
You
your
know,
life.
I mean, because sometimes you do, it feels like that. Like, I'm failing. And this could be like, honestly, you know, I like losing your job.
Yeah, you're
Right?
kind of floundering.
And you're just like,
and
I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, there is so much comfort in, like, don't think that God isn't at work.
Right.
Like, don't think
Right.
I
that
think
God doesn't
he is
have a
still.
plan here.
Right.
You know, it's like, it's hard to say. Again, it's that sovereignty piece. Like, is it, you know, did you lose your job because God is like, well, you need to stop working? You know, I'm like, no, maybe it, you know, who knows? Like, I don't know.
Right.
I'm not going to answer that question because I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how all of that works.
Yeah.
It's the gray area. But like, through all things, like, God is working. God is moving us forward if we can turn our attention to, like, how we are being called. What is God teaching me in this season, in this moment, right?
I think sometimes, like, it's hard to see the forest through the trees when you're in, like, the floundering times, right? But I think hindsight being 2020, when you go back to those moments, in a way, I'm like, I always find myself oddly thankful for them.
Oh,
in a
yeah.
strange
Yeah.
way, like, because you're like,
I
that
grew
was
there.
hard, but I grew, and I think that was God's purpose in that. Like, I
Absolutely.
mean, I don't think He necessarily sits there and is like, hey, little ant, like, I'm going to burn you up, but like, I you know, like, what I'm trying to say is that sense of, like, that you grew from that, and that when you go through a challenging time, you can recall, like,
Right.
I went through something really hard and I got through it.
Or that it, like,
Like,
the time
and I
wasn't
grew from that.
wasted. It
No,
wasn't
never.
in vain,
So-
you know?
Ever.
So, like, a example of this is, so when I think we were talking about senior year and we were talking about swim team, like, So one thing that happened was, yes, I was like one of the only senior left, but we also switched districts. Prior to that, our district, because we're up in East Texas, y'all, and the swim team is not the biggest deal. No. If anything, everyone was surprised.
Football.
It's all about the football. If any people at our school had no idea we had a swim team, because we went off campus, we were at a athletic club, and that's where we swam. But our district was, for all three, like from freshman to junior year, was only 2 other schools in our district. So that means at our district meet, like, it was pretty easy if you wanted to, it was much easier to qualify for regionals and move on because our district was a pretty small thing. My senior year, they switched districts on us. And now we're going against the Woodlands and Conroe and Klein.
Wow.
And the Woodlands High School
Holy moly.
just won state the year before. Yeah. Like, we're in a completely different... These schools have JV teams. Our school just had one team. That was it.
Gosh.
That was it.
That seems unfair.
And so it was a huge shift. And man, like, we got wrecked
There's
at district.
Disney movies about this,
Yeah.
I think.
No, we did not come out ahead at all. We got wrecked and all this. But here's what I remember is as disappointed as I kind of was with imagining what my senior year was going to be like with that. And I did not qualify for regionals, and our team did not do that great. But I do remember our coach came up to me, and he was just like, hey, I know this must be very disappointing for you with how all this kind of came about, but you were still a good team captain to everybody. You still tried hard. You got some of your personal best times and all this. And then I later heard that, like, some of the team, they started doing better, like, the year after I graduated. They started doing better, and who knows if I would have just quit. You know, just, well, y'all, there's no point in doing that. Like, you just got to keep going forward, even if those things shift and change. And so, I'm not saying that to brag about myself, because obviously I didn't do well at all. But you just got to keep going with it, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't get the job or the promotion you wanted, just keep moving forward. Mm-hmm. I mean, adapt, adjust. Like, I mean, maybe you do switch jobs. Maybe you do. But it doesn't mean God gave up on you. Right. It doesn't mean God's not present.
Well, and sometimes, too, like what we see in this story is like Paul, remember, is from Tarsus, and he wants to go and plant these churches in Asia Minor. It's like in granted, like every city, every area is a little different. But he's in his hood. Right. Like, this is like culturally...
People causing no good in my neighborhood.
Like, culturally, this is like very, very like, it's his stomping grounds. Yeah. Like, he'd been around here. He knows the area. He knows the things. He's not like crossing seas. He's not like going too far from home, right? And so what you see in the story is like, he is pulled, really, and I say pulled. He goes willingly, but he ends up going farther than he had been, right? And goes outside of his comfort zone and is called there and continues to be called there. And then like so much of the New Testament comes from that trip, right?
Out,
from going that way. It ultimately also is where he dies. I mean, like it is where he ends up being martyred, is, that direction. But like, you just see this, like him moving outside of his comfort zone to go farther and to do more. And like, and granted, martyrdom was kind of a thing at this time.
You're a rock star.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like,
that just came so up. Was that during this time? Because I know Stephen was like the first martyr, and I'm sure that
Paul was there.
Yeah.
Remember?
Paul. Yeah. Well, he's the one who ordered it.
Yeah. Saul, right? This is when he was Saul. Right. So, yeah, it was.
But you even see in Paul's writings that to go somewhere unsafe, he's like, well, if I get to live, I get to keep teaching the gospel. But if I die, man, what a victory that is.
I get to be with Jesus.
I get to die and be with Jesus. It's like, man, it's like a win-win.
Joy in all things,
it was a win-win
yeah, but
for
he was
him.
imprisoned, so much oppression.
When he was in prison, singing psalms, singing hymns.
Right,
like,
he wrote epistles, from prison, right? So it's like...
So even in those situations, he still stuck to the plan. He stuck to God's plan. Like, no matter what was happening to him, he stuck to the plan.
like,
Yeah.
and still knew, you know, it was like that joy of knowing he was called and going where he was called. You know, and even outside of our comfort zone, like I don't know, maybe Paul, you know, didn't put it in his writing, but was kind of scared sometimes or like nervous or whatever. I'd imagine he is human. But like, you know, but ultimately went and knew, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, like I am supposed to be here. I am where God has called me to be. And I think like that's the hope, right? That like we as individuals would be able to live a life like that, where we are like, I know I am where I'm supposed to be. I know I've been called to this place. God is using me, or God has a purpose in the season. If it's for my personal growth, like God is going to grow me here, you know, as in the waiting time, you know, God's not wasting time on like there is no wasted time in with God. Right. So like just constantly discerning, constantly, you know, just seeing where God is calling you every particular moment, and in every particular season. And then as for us as a church, like that's also still, you know, our prayer too, that like we would recognize that, you know, we can make plans all day for like what kind of church we want to be, you know, the people that we want to, you know, be known as.
Right. The community we want to have here,
right.
et cetera.
But the purpose of who we are always needs to rest in like God's plans for us, for God wills for our church, you know, like, and that's what we saw in the first church was like, they had these plans of going to these places, but they ultimately discerned and went where God was calling them, you know, at that particular time. So like, you know, I think as we're in this great 50 days, as we're like remembering who we are as a church, like that's a prayer I have for St. Peter's, that like as we're making plans of, you know, the next 50 years of our life and, you know, in ministry and stuff, like who is God calling us to be, and let us discern, you know, together as a community where that next step is taking us, you know, rather than just trying to, you know, make up our own plans.
Right.
Yeah. And we talked about this at Sunday school. We brought up COVID and how that just disrupted everybody's plans, right? Like, and the church, like we had to adapt and we had to change how we met, but you know, the plan was still be the church. And so we were still the church even during COVID. We didn't just stop. And so we had to adapt how we did stuff. And so it was kind of fun reminiscing. Of course, a lot of the students by this point, they were just like, yeah, I was in elementary school or something like that. But yeah, when I think back at it,
wasn't it last year? Like,
I know, I feel like it wasn't that long ago, yo. But I sometimes still reminisce and go, man, I kind of liked how we adjusted and we did this. That was fun. Like I remember how meaningful this was that we did it this way, and we wouldn't have done that if there wasn't. You know, I wouldn't want another pandemic or anything like that. But if it does happen, I know we're still going to move forward and be the church.
Right.
And I even brought up like, you know, there's war happening around the world, and I'm sure churches in Ukraine didn't just stop. Like they had to adjust. They had to make sure they're being safe and careful, but they're still going to be the church.
Yeah.
Like
And in
they're
those
still
hotter times, you need the church more than ever, I think.
And so there may be closed doors, but that doesn't mean your journey stops, right? So you just got to keep moving. So. So get your acts together, and if something happens to you, just keep moving forward, okay? Get your act together.
Oh, full circle moment.
So just get it together.
Get it together.
Well, let's get to our ministry shout out. We wanted to shout out just midweek events, y'all. Like this has been a fun year of midweek events, where it's been the whole church. Because for a while, a couple of years, you know, students and children's, we've called our event midweek, right, on Wednesday nights.
Right.
And there would be some adult studies and other stuff. But now, for this year, we've been calling it, no, this is just midweek across the board. We're all doing midweek together. And yes, there's still adult studies. There's still choir happening and music stuff. But
He
then
pointed at you and he said choir.
Yeah.
No.
But children's and students and all that. So it's been really great. And we introduced the dinners. And so having the way we're doing dinners is different. And but man, it's just been a lot of fun. So Wednesdays at 5:30 is as early as the dinner starts, but you can kind of come and go even a little after that. And then but 6:30 is whenever all the studies, children's ministry starts,
just 1 hour,
starts.
6:30
yeah.
to 7:30.
It's really nice though. Like it's such a great, like seeing so many people there, and like such a great community event of like every Wednesday, like just kind of. And I also like not having to make dinner.
Yeah. And
I
the
love
food's
not having to make
and the
dinner.
food's great. Chef
food
Ben is like he's on top of his game. He's introducing us to new names for these foods. Like what is it? What is the name? Eric
Ericot
Verts. Ericot
No,
Verts.
it's like
Yes,
Ericot.
it's green beans.
Yeah,
Wait, no, it's Erico Ver.
Enrico Ver.
That's how you say
And
it.
I'm like,
fancy.
and people are like, "What's that?" Like, it's
I was
green.
like, I have to remember.
It's green beans.
Enrico Ver.
It's
It's,
green beans.
it's the one French thing I know now.
Ericot Ver.
Bonjour, Enrico Ver.
When I'm sharing the menu with families, if I don't recognize what it is, I'll look it up. Like, oh, that's chicken.
Yeah.
I'm not going to surprise people like what this. I'm sure I don't know some foodie
we're
out there is
we're
going to criticize me for
cultured.
that.
That's
but
so cool.
I just
No.
want them to know there's going to be beef, and there's going to be chicken, and there's a salad, and there's green beans.
I'm just,
come on.
I have so much joy when I write in my planner every week for all of like the meal prep for the week.
Yes,
and
girl.
on Wednesday I can just say midweek.
Midweek.
yeah, midweek.
Midweek
So
dinner.
beautiful.
It's great. Oh.
And so this is at both campuses. It's at Kingsland and at West. And so have a time for dinner. Or if you don't have time to show up that early for dinner, you could come to just the Bible studies and for all the events that start at 6:30. The studies range, and a lot of like some of them are specific on books of the Bible. Like Chrissy, you did a Mark one, right?
Yes, yeah.
Preston's done. I think he's doing Esther right now, right?
Yes, he's doing Esther now. I've done Mark. I did Mark the first session, and then I did Gospel Parallels with Yesley.
So
that
kind
was
of looking at them side by
all
side
four
and
of
the
the
differences
Gospels.
and similarities.
yeah,
and
that was cool.
Did
And
you
then
introduce people to Q?
I
the
did.
Gospel of Q?
No, not the Gospel of Q,
Oh,
but
okay.
the Q source. Yes,
the Q
I did.
source. Okay.
Yeah, and then like Carl he's doing History Christianity Part 2 because he did Part
Right.
1 the first session and did
Which that was
atonement
a
theories.
big yeah.
Yeah.
He did atonement. They're talking about getting deep into
Oh,
some
man.
theology there. He
Yeah,
yeah.
it was cool.
And then like children's, they're continuing to like kind of guiding, teaching children how to navigate through the Bible, how to use the Bible, things like that, while also playing games. And I know with students, we're doing devotionals on some weeks, but then we're also doing serving projects. Like this last Wednesday, we did we helped out Clothed by Faith, and then we played games outside because the weather was really nice.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's just a lot. I mean, Kids Jam and other musical groups are rehearsing and all that too. So it's just a fun time. So if you have not gotten plugged in on midweek, come on. Like
Yeah.
it's still happening.
It's just a good time to
And-
come and be together
Yeah.
too.
And the last Wednesday of the month, we have our caregiver, special needs caregiver support group that
Oh,
meets
nice.
at the
Oh, yeah.
upstairs. So
That's awesome.
you could hop into that sometime too if you need
Yeah.
that kind of support.
I love that. But yeah, we will conclude. This will conclude our Wednesday nights. This session will conclude our Wednesday nights in May. We'll
as
have
we
our-
get closer to school ending.
Yeah, our last one is May 13th. So this is our last session. But you can hop in at any time, and and then we'll just take a break kind of for summer from our regular rhythm. It'll
Yeah.
be a little bit of a different rhythm, but
Well, Shannon, thank you for joining us again.
Thanks for inviting me along
Yeah.
always great to have you.
in all my comments. I
I
don't know.
know. Well, we will see you all next week on the Next Day Podcast.
See you next time.
Bye.